Well, hello there, guys. How's it going? Thank you for joining me on this brand new video. It's Kid Bowman here. I'll be doing a festive themed read aloud. Some of you are quite interested. I hope you feel cozy in a Christmas spirit. Can't believe how exciting for Christmas, guys. I finally can't wait in 2 weeks' time. So, I'll show you my quite familiar with Christmas stories. But I have got Disney's The Muppet Christmas Carol. So guys, I think you're quite familiar with The Muppet Christmas Carol. It's 1992 film. And this is rendition of classic Charles Dickens. It was inspired by Charles Dickens. This is written by Brooke Vettel and illustrated by Luke Flowers. Well, some of you like a Muppet Christmas Carol. I really love this movie. I think it's a really good film. And I think it's such inspired by 1843 Christmas Carol written by Charles Dickens. Okay, so if you enjoy this video, so sit back, have a nice hot chocolate and relax. Enjoy the reading. If you feel free to write in comments down below. I highly recommend wear your headphones when you listen to this video. Okay, cool. Let's begin. Hello, welcome to the Muppet Christmas Carol. My name is Charles Dickens, and I am a Rizzo the rat. Hey, wait a minute. You not Charles Dickens? I am too. I know the story of a Christmas Carol like the back of my hand. Prove it. There's a little mole on my thumb. And, not your hand, tell us the story. The Marleys were dead to begin with, as dead as the doornail in life. The Marleys had been business partners with a man named Ebenezer Scrooge. Scrooge was cold, greedy and unkind. His only care in life was making money. Inside his office, Scrooge's bookkeepers shivered. They needed more coal for their fire, but Scrooge was not given the mood, not even on Christmas Eve. Phew, what an unpleasant fellow, treating rats like that on Christmas Eve. For others, Christmas was a time of joy, laughter and charity, yet Scrooge hated the holiday. Christmas, bah humbug! After Scrooge left his office for an evening, the mood brightened. His clerk, Bob Cratchit, and the bookkeepers merrily closed up the shop. They were all looking forward to their Christmas holiday. Outside, the streets were filled with the joy of the season. The penguins were hosting their annual figure skating party. Bob had to give it a try. After the come on, Rizzo. After the turn on their eyes, Bob did bid good night to the penguins. Looking up at the moon, he smiled. It was time to go home to his family. Elsewhere in the city, Scrooge approached his own home, which he had once belonged to his partners, Jacob and Robert Marley. Now, once again, I must ask you to remember that Marleys were dead. That thing you must remember, or nothing that follows will seem wondrous. As Scrooge bent to open his door, a cold wind began to blow. Suddenly, the door knocker transformed into the face of Jacob Marley. Scrooge cried out in shock, but when he looked again, the knocker had returned to normal. Shaken, Scrooge went inside. He dressed for the bed and settled down next to the fire, certain he had simply imagined a face of his departed partner. As Scrooge sat staring into the flames, the fire went out and the spirits of Jacob and Robert Marley appeared. The Marleys showed Scrooge the chains they had earned through their many acts of their greed in life. As the Marleys howled and danced about the room, they issued Scrooge a warning. If Scrooge did not change his ways, he would end up like them. The Marleys told Scrooge that he would be haunted by 3 spirits, that only with the help of these spirits could he change his fate. Then, with a rattle of their chains, the Marleys vanished. The Marleys' visit left Scrooge deeply unsettled. He lit a candle to ward off the darkness and got into bed. Then the clock chimed 1. Scrooge awoke to the bright light filling his room. He drew back his bed curtains. Floating by his bed was a childlike spirit. I am the ghost of Christmas past. The spirit told Scrooge that she had came to save him from the Marleys' terrible fate. She offered Scrooge her hand and gestured to the world outside his suddenly open window. Scrooge hesitated to leap into the thin air, but the spirit assured that he would be safe. He took her hand and they flew out of the window into the past. Hello, London. Goodbye, lunch. Soon they arrived in Scrooge's childhood. Scrooge recognised the place at once. It was his old school, and there was his younger self. It was Christmas Eve here too. All around, happy children were preparing to go home for the holiday. But young Scrooge had nowhere to go, nowhere to return to. He had to spend the holiday at school alone. Rats don't understand these things. You were never alone, a lonely child. I had 1,274 brothers and sisters. Time moved forward and Scrooge found himself back in London once again. It was Christmas Eve, and the lamp lighters were plying their trade. Hey, light the lamp, not the rat. Light the lamp, not a rat. The spirit had brought Scrooge into the sight of his first job. Old Fozziewig's rubber chicken factory. Light and laughter poured from the building. It's the Fozziewig annual Christmas party, Scrooge exclaimed. Scrooge rushed inside. The factory was full of music and merriment. Everyone was enjoying the party, except young Scrooge, who was fretting over the company's finances. At the party, Scrooge watched his younger self was introduced to the beautiful girl named Belle. It was love at first sight, but as Scrooge knew, this was not the only Christmas he had spent with Belle. Time moved forward again. Tears filled Scrooge's eyes as he watched Belle tell his younger self that, though he claimed to have loved her, he had chosen money over her one too many times. She couldn't marry him. Scrooge begged the spirits to show him no more, crying into his hands. Scrooge sank to the floor. The spirit and the past and began to fade. When Scrooge looked up again, he was alone in his bedroom. Scrooge returned to bed, but he didn't sleep. A short while later, the clock struck 2 and light and music filled the room. A cherry face appeared in his doorway. I'm a ghost of Christmas spirit. Come in and know me better, man. Scrooge got out of bed. The second spirit was so full of joy and warmth that Scrooge couldn't help but smile. But his smile faded as the spirit began to talk about a wonder of Christmas. Scrooge had never understood why people loved Christmas so much. Before this day is over, you shall, said the spirit. The spirit led Scrooge onto the streets of London. Scrooge watched as people greeted each other warmly, sang carols together, and exchanged gifts. For the first time in his life, Scrooge began to understand that Christmas was a time for sharing love, and despite himself, he began to have fun. Next, the spirit brought Scrooge to a house of Bob Cratchit, Scrooge's clerk. But Bob was just arriving home from church with his son, a small, frail child named Tiny Tim. Goose, they are cooking goose down there. Scrooge watched as Bob's wife and children rushed to greet him. He could see that what the family lacked in money, they made up for love with. As the Crouches sat down to dinner, Bob offered a toast to Scrooge. Mrs. Crouchit huffed. I suppose on the blessed day of Christmas, one must drink to the health of Mr. Scrooge, even though he's stingy, wicked, and unfeeling, and badly dressed. Tiny Tim raised his glass. God blesses everyone. I fell down the chimney, landed on a flaming hot goose. You have all the fun. Shame filled Scrooge at the thought of how poorly he had treated Bob. The family had so little, and Tiny Tim was clearly very sick. Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will get better. But the spirit could not see the future. For Spirit's time was the present, and the time was coming to an end. Scrooge begged the spirit to stay, but the gentle ghost had started to fade. Soon the spirit had vanished. Along with the Crouches' loving home, Scrooge found himself alone in graveyard. Mist filled the graveyard, and the ghost of Christmas yet to come appeared. The third spirit scared Scrooge, but Scrooge had learned so much from the previous spirits. He was ready to learn more. Lead on, spirit. This is too scary. I don't think I want to see anymore. When you're all right, you are right. You folks are on your own. We'll meet at the final. In the future, Scrooge listened to several street folk merrily discussing the funeral. He watched as a mysterious dead man's belongings were given away. Fear crept into Scrooge's heart, though Scrooge had heard no name. He thought he recognized the dead man's things. Next, the spirit brought him to the Cratchit's home. Everything had changed. The once joyful family was now filled with grief. Scrooge understood that the worst had happened. Tiny Tim had not got better. Back in the graveyard, Scrooge fairly asked the spirit whose death had caused the street folk so much merriment. Lifting his hand, a spirit pointed to the gravestone. Reluctantly, Scrooge approached a stone and knelt in the front of it. With shaking hands, he wiped away the frost. At the sight of his name, Scrooge burst into tears. "Oh, Spirit, no!" he cried. "Please, I'm a changed man." Begging for a second chance, Scrooge fell to his knees. Into his own bed, Scrooge looked up. He was back in his bedroom. "I'm home. It's a miracle." "Hi, guys. We're back." Do you think it's safe for us to be up there? Here? Scrooge is safe. What could happen now?" Joyfully, Scrooge threw open his window. "You there, boy? What's today?" "Today is Christmas Day." Scrooge couldn't believe it. He had been given a second chance to show the world he was a changed man. Filled with gratitude, he decided to surprise the Cratchits with a delicious Christmas dinner. Scrooge made his way through the city, giving his gift and smiles to all he passed. His joy was contagious, and he soon found himself followed by a huge crowd of merrymakers. Soon Scrooge arrived at the Cratchits' home. He gathered to the crowd to hide and then knocked on Cratchit's door. The Cratchits opened their door to find Scrooge scowling on their doorstep. They thought Bob's boss had came yet to yell at him for missing work on Christmas Day. Mrs. Cratchit couldn't hold back. She jumped on the front of her husband and ready to give Scrooge a piece of her mind. She stopped when she saw the crowd of merry Londoners standing behind Scrooge, their hands full of more presents and food than she or Bob had never seen. Scrooge stepped forward and a numerous smile on his face. "Bob Cratchit, would you and your family care to join us for a little turkey dinner on this fine Christmas Day?" From that day on, Scrooge became as good a friend, as good a boss, and as good a man as London ever had. To Tiny Tim, who did get better, Scrooge became like a second father, and it was always said of Scrooge that he knew how to keep a Christmas well. And so, as Tiny Tim observed, God blesses everyone. The end. Well, so I hope you really love this story about Disney Muppet Christmas Carol. It was such an inspiring story by Charles Dickens. And some of you who like Charles Dickens' stories so much, it's such absolute festive. Okay, so I hope you're all looking forward to Christmas soon in December, and hope you can't wait and feel Christmas spirit already. So remember, guys, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel to hit this bell notification. You could support me on other social media. You can find me on Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook page, and TikTok. You can support my additional and exclusive contents. If you are happy, please do that. Also, please stay tuned for a more festive themed videos for Christmas. So if you enjoyed this video, give thumbs up and what comes down below if you enjoyed it. So thank you so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. So Merry Christmas and have a nice day.